Okay, good evening and welcome to the Westboro Advisory Finance Committee meeting of number 11 of fiscal 2024, November 30th, 2023 at Town Hall. I have to read the message because this is a hybrid meeting. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body as well as members of the public may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at this location, and it is possible that all members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting can be accessed remotely via the link in the agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by in-person attendance or by accessing the meeting remotely. Additionally, the meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28, Charter Channel 192, or Westboro TV online platform at westborotv.org and youtube.com/westborotv. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed by Westboro TV, and we thank them for that. First part of the meeting, we're going to introduce a new AFC appointee, and for that, I will introduce John Arnold, the town moderator, who is joining us remotely and is the appointing authority for our committee. John?
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Walter. I'm John Arnold, 251 West Main Street, the town moderator. Just wanted to fill all of you in. Over the past few months, I had gotten contacted by Melanie Board to let me know that some additional time constraints from her work were going to lead her to need to resign from the committee, and she offered her apologies for that, and I have wished her well. Her resignation letter says that her resignation takes effect tomorrow. So this evening in the audience, I believe there, it's my pleasure to introduce Prashant Ahuja, who I've appointed to take the remainder of Melanie's term effective tomorrow. So Prashant doesn't count as the quorum or can vote tonight, but because he was interested in getting going, I wanted to introduce him and let him introduce himself. So I will mostly let Prashant introduce himself, but I wanted to let you know that after Zafar Zadiki, who used to be on the Finance Committee, had to resign earlier in the year, I had reached out to him to ask if he had any suggestions for people who he thought would be a good fit on the committee as part of my usual outreach for trying to keep a bench of people interested in the Finance Committee. And Zafar had actually introduced me to Prashant. I know I've met with him and spoken to him and had email exchanges about his interests and his background that I think fits the committee's charge well. And I know that so he could learn more about the committee before signing up for the commitment. He also spoke to Walter and Jean, and we're all glad to see Prashant take on the committee work, officially starting tomorrow, but unofficially starting tonight. Rather than me botch his background, I'll just let him speak a few words. But anyway, Prashant, welcome to the committee. Thank you, Melanie, for your years of service to the committee. In addition to thanking Melanie, I want to just mention I and I think the whole committee looks forward to Prashant's contributions to the Advisory Finance Committee. So Prashant, I'll give you a few minutes to introduce yourself.
Sure. Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, John. And thank you, everyone. My name is Prashant Ahuja, and I live in 5 Cook Street, Westboro. I have been a resident of Westboro for the last 15 years, so in various capacities. I've stayed in a hotel as well as in a rental community as well as two homes within Westboro itself. So, I have seen quite a lot of Westboro growth as well as diversity improving, increasing as well in the last 15 years. And in my career, in my professional career, it has spanned almost now 20 years plus. And it's in IT, information technology, and the area where I have best skills in is business analysis, understanding the business, trying to get the efficiencies out of them. So while talking to Walter as well as while talking to John, my hope is that I can contribute not just to the town itself, but also help work with all of you to see what areas we can work together to get better things for the town. Yep, short and sweet.
Very good. Thank you and welcome, Prashant.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to
Thank you.
you joining the team. at the next meeting, but certainly stick around tonight because there's a lot to learn still to come.
Absolutely. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
And I'd just like to echo John's words, thanking Melanie for at least 3 years, I think she's been on the committee, and her contributions to our group. And we will miss her. Moving on, next will be public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? I see two. Boyd, you want to start?
Boyd Conklin. Boyd Conklin, 8 Water Street. So I've got 8 articles here for the spring 2024 warrant so far. So I just wanted to kind of go over them. Just quick, been working with John and keeping like the select board and various people in town, letting them know where I'm coming from. So I'll just go over them. Rescind the stormwater equity tax. DPW Department of Public Works can ask the town for funds by warrant article, which is much simpler and cost-effective for Westboro citizens and businesses. And then the other thing on these things is if you guys got numbers for me or something to help sell them or whatever, I'd appreciate it too. Another one, removal of LGBT XYZ iconography from Westboro schools to see if the town will vote on a non-binding petition to remove LGBT XYZ iconography from Westboro schools. Political organizational messages and or social organizational movements, flyers, stickers, iconography, murals, banners, flags have no place in Westboro schools. Barring, another article, barring gender affirming care for minors, to see if the town will vote on a non-binding petition to bar gender affirming care for minors in Westboro. Another library cost-effective repair. To see if the town will vote on a non-binding resolution to leave the library building alone. Repair is needed. Roofs, windows, carpets, no heat pumps, no ADA. That's American with Disabilities Act. No conversion of natural gas heating to electric. No electric rewiring for electric heating. Do not spend more than 1/3, $833,000. Building assessed value of $2.5 million in each 3-year period to avoid ADA compliance trigger. Then the other one is, let's see, move on. One is I'm lost. Senior center preservation. To see if the town will vote to leave the senior center alone and not move the location. Keep it where it is. Golf club preservation. To see if the town will vote to leave the golf club building alone. Repair is needed. No heat pumps. No ADA. No conversion of natural gas heating to electric. No electric rewiring for electric heating. Bring civic kitchen back or similar. Do not spend more than 1/3 building assessed value in 3 years to avoid the ADA compliance trigger. Once again, this is like with the library. And to see if the town will vote on a non-binding resolution that forbids the mandating of masking, vaccination, social distancing, business closures, vaccine passports, quarantine, remote learning within the boundaries of Westboro and Westboro schools. The individual citizens, businesses of Westboro are better suited to decide their individual business risk profiles. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Boyd.
Wilfred Savoy, 41 Chestnut Street. Last year after the annual town meeting, I was present before the Finance Advisory Board regarding the school department's budget format, the amount of detail, particularly as it dealt with salaries and wages. And I advocated for the school department budget to be the same format as far as all other town departments. At that time, the Finance Board indicated some interest in that. I know Walter did, and just interested in if there's been any progress on that. And also, the town manager had indicated that she was also working on that. So I'm just here to ask about if there's been any progress on that.
Okay, so I think what we were mainly interested in was a little more detail on the salaries per school or something like that.
Right, salaries and
Not
wages.
probably to the level of the budgets that the town does, but that budget has not, I mean, that's a school committee thing. We can certainly request more detail. I thought there was one particular that we were interested in full-time equivalents at each school of each type of teaching.
No, I was not.
So
I was not
they
asking
do
for that.
detail out quite a bit of the expenses, so obviously the salaries are the big thing. What more detail
Right.
were you looking for on salary stuff?
Yeah. The presentation last evening, they are providing an additional sheet starting in this year's fiscal budget. They do break out some salaries, but not by cost centers. In other words, you couldn't tell, for example, the administrative office, the finance office, the high school, the middle school. You don't see the breakouts there. And so there was a substantial increase in some of the costs there, but so we had to ask the question as why and so forth.
Okay.
But so I'm just looking for that at some point in time. Hopefully that will come about.
Sure, so we certainly can work through our two liaisons, which are Jane and Beth, to request more information as this committee wants. I do know that they just have a new finance person again this year.
Yeah.
And that she's had some medical issues, so
She's laid up.
I'm
yeah.
not sure. I haven't actually bothered Amber at all
Yeah.
for any additional information.
Unfortunate.
But this
Yeah.
is starting to
Yeah.
get to be the season.
Yeah.
Beth, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so one of the things about the school department budget is it's presented in the format that the Department of Education for Massachusetts wants. And it would be an incredible burden to have to do a double budget, one, to satisfy the Department of Education, and two, to satisfy Westboro for specific style or format. And that's been brought up before. And, you know, at the time, it was agreed that setting the budget to meet the Department of Education's needs was the far more important choice of style. Asking specific questions that you want answered is one thing, but asking them to redo their budget formatting is an incredibly cost inefficient process because they will still have to budget for the Department of Education.
Okay, I think this was additional or enhanced information, and I will say that Amber's did come to me and say that if there was more information that we were interested in, they would try to accommodate
Right,
that.
but
So
I think
it's
that
worth
needs
asking.
specific questions. Rather than saying just, you know, make it look like the town, I
Right.
think she needs to know what are the specific questions that this gentleman or the board wants answered. Because she's very good about getting us answers.
So I think to that end, Beth, and so Mr. Soy, I believe we're supposed to meet with them again this coming week so we can ask some questions. I made a note that you're looking really for specifically that salary by cost center, so the salaries by school. I know that the way they're breaking it down really is by sort of that functional area, but I'm happy to pass along those questions. And to Beth's point, if there's any other specific questions you want us to pass along, I'm happy to relay any of those and see if there's really specific information that we can provide.
I'm familiar with the Department of Ed requirement and how they break it down. It really isn't that much different than what the town is, the format of the town department budgets. So I don't believe there's a real hardship that would be placed on the school department. If you look at how they have to report the end of year reports, the amount of detail to the Department of Ed is very, very similar to the detail that the town departments give. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you. I think
Okay.
Appreciate your input. We certainly will be working very closely with the schools for the next,
Okay.
how many months is it till March? 4 or 5
A
months?
lot.
4 months?
Thank you.
And work on that.
Mhm.
Okay. And next up is introduction of our new finance director, Jason Little. So I guess you could introduce yourself.
You just get to introduce yourself here on the spot. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks you for having me here and welcoming here to town. I started November 6th, and I've jumped in, and this is I'm excited to have this job. Extremely exciting town to work for. There's a lot of great things going on here, and I knew Leah Talbot, the person I replaced. She did an impeccable job here. I'm thrilled to be replacing her. I hope to live up to the standards that she set here, and I look forward to working with everybody here. So,
Including 30 years?
I don't know if I have 30 years in me, but I'll do my best.
Let's not set the bar that high.
Sorry.
Welcome very much. I had the privilege of being on the interviewing committee when we were selecting a candidate, and I can tell you Jason is an exceptionally strong candidate, and we are very fortunate to have you joining us, and very excited for your help in getting us information that we will, I'm sure, want in the next few months. So get going. It's going to be busy season, right? There's lots to learn.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Welcome.
Immediate. We'll probably have more stuff. Okay. So next, we'd like to consider a AFC transfer request, and I guess I'll let you speak to that first.
Sure.
You-
We can both answer questions.
Sure.
But the beginning of November, our treasurer collector gave her notice. So she will be leaving us on December 15th. In order to replace her with interim services, we would like to enter into a contract with an organization that provides these types of services. We've actually already met with a potential candidate that has served previously as the treasurer collector in the town of Natick, as well as been served interim roles in other communities. In order for us to enter into this contract and pay for it, we would need to increase the expenses. So we are asking for an increase or a reserve fund transfer of $30,000 to fund the contract that would bring in interim services for approximately 2 months.
And that's because the salary is in salaries and wages, and this has to come out of the expenses, and we can't actually transfer between departments to the last 2 months of the year.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Got a lot of new people here, so.
Thanks.
I
Yep.
didn't know that. So.
Yeah, so the only transfers can be done in the last 2
Okay.
months, other than from our reserve. So the effect of this is there will be extra money in salary and wages,
Not if we get really lucky and can hire someone
well,
quickly.
in theory.
I mean,
um,
I don't know that that's really likely. But
and-
one could hope.
So if there is at the end of the year, that would fall to free cash, which would sort of replace where the AFC reserve came from or something. But it's, I guess, where the bank or something like that. So, any questions
there-
from Beth or Andrew? Beth?
Yeah. Is there any possibility that the person you're hiring as an interim will turn into our new collector treasurer?
No. No, because he's a retiree. Yeah, this is where we would actually be
Okay.
contracting with a company for which he works, and so that contract is an on-call contract. So to Jane's point, if we hire someone quickly, then we're able to terminate the contract immediately.
Okay.
Andrew? Wanna give
No
it-
questions, thank you.
Okay. Josh? Tom? You? Jane?
For once, I
Walter?
have none.
Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. We definitely want to collect taxes
We
and
do. Yes.
have revenue, so it all makes sense. Gene, maybe you can make a motion out of this
Yep.
document here.
McMahon, I move that we transfer $30,000 from the AFC reserve to the finance department budget. expense.
Okay. A second from somebody?
Bradley, second.
Bradley, second. Okay, any further discussion? We have to do roll call vote. There are 8 of us, so I think we start with Beth. It's been a while since we've done this.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes, but I'll pour one out for Melanie there.
That's right.
Brandt, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shefford, yes.
Okay, so that is 8-0-0 with 8 present.
Unanimous vote on your first request to the Finance
Thank you.
Committee.
Well done.
Okay, so I will.
First time here.
Yeah, and we.
It's a good record.
We're always nice to the new guys.
He's really off to a rough. First time we met him, and he's like, "And can I have some money?"
Well, that's fair.
For his department, too.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's for him.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on the agenda is
Thanks.
Christy again. And,
Yep.
we'll see what topics people are very interested in, but I know there was interest in an update on the Youth and Family Services, which there was, for our group's knowledge, at the select board meeting, the group that is potentially the contracted group came in and gave about a half-hour, 20-minute presentation,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yep.
So you can watch that on Westboro TV if you'd like. So I'll give you the. You want to start with that?
Yep, so I don't have a lot of detail about this yet, and when we do, obviously we will share that with all of you, but just sort of where we are in the process, I've talked to you before about the fact that we've had a really difficult time hiring for both our director position and one of our counselor positions. That is not unique to Westboro or Massachusetts. It's a national sort of crisis in terms of trying to get mental health providers. So because we've had the positions vacant for several months, we've looked at alternatives in terms of how we deliver the service. And we looked at our neighbors in Shrewsbury who contract with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services. It is not a department of the town. It's a nonprofit. It's just called Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services. So they provide similar services to what we provide here to the town of Shrewsbury. They also provide counseling services and group work to several school districts. So not just in Shrewsbury, but they have a reach beyond Shrewsbury. So we met with the director at the time, and we've met with them several times. I've talked to folks in the town to see how that goes, the relationship with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services, as well as bring other stakeholders in. So our superintendent has met with them, our police chief, some members of the select board, youth commission, and our current Youth and Family Services staff. So we're working through this, what we're calling a hybrid approach. It's a completely new format for us as well as for them. So taking some time to really thoughtfully develop any sort of documents. And so that's really where we're at. We're calling it a hybrid approach because we would retain one employee as a Westboro employee to do community resource and outreach. And then we would contract with Shrewsbury Youth and Family Services to provide clinical services. So if you watch the select board meeting from the other night, their presentation was really focused on the types of services that they provide in Shrewsbury, which is similar to what we would do here. One sort of major difference is that Shrewsbury does not have a youth commission, and we do. So it's actually a really great opportunity for our youth commission to also function as an advisory board to the contractor. And so really working through that relationship, the relationship that would exist between the contractor and our current employee. But we think it's a really positive step forward. We think we would be able to provide more robust services. And we expect that the cost of it wouldn't exceed the Youth and Family Services budget. However, it would obviously look different because we'd be funding a contract. So a lot of that salary and wages money would go into expenses. So we've sent them a draft scope of work. They sent back questions. Once we get all of that refined, they'll be able to provide us with a quote. And then just as a reminder, we did mention that we have we've awarded 2 ARPA awards to Westboro Youth and Family Services prior to our director departing. One of them actually was related to a behavioral health contract. So those 2 awards together exceed $200,000. We have not moved forward with them because we didn't have a director to manage those contracts. One of them actually we had a really difficult time just getting people to bid on. And so the thought currently is that if we could get this going before the annual town meeting, certainly we want it to go before fiscal 25. We would fund the remainder of the fiscal year using those ARPA funds, and then it would be built into the FY25 contract. And it would be a multi-year contract, so likely 3 years.
Any questions? No?
So I know that I had some, and it's sort of probably worth for anyone who might have questions that didn't get an opportunity to ask. So one of the things that you just mentioned that I think was one of the key things is that we think long-term the cost of the contract isn't likely to exceed the current salaries. And that was really what I was trying to look at for cost. Mm-hmm. So we're really just shifting that salary cost somewhere else. We're not increasing cost.
That's our expectation.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Certainly we don't have an actual price yet, and it's all, but that was really where because I had sent Christy some emails previously sort of questioning that. Because I think that's an important sort of nuance there. We don't know for sure, but we're not looking to increase our spending.
Right.
We're just really looking to provide services in a different way, which I think really meets a need, because we had also had that conversation when you were here about if we can't fill the position, what are our other options, and I think this is a great solution.
Great.
So that was really all. I just wanted to make sure I really called out that one fact, because I think it is sort of critical.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And is it correct that, I mean, then you don't also, besides the department budget, you have less insurance and less OPEB, things that don't necessarily show up in department budgets? Or does each department have that?
It may. I don't want to say yes because I'm not. It might be nominal. So.
It's some difference.
I mean, certainly.
I think
it would be nominal.
And certainly, it seems like the most important is being able to get services again. And it seems like a long time ago since she left. Now,
it's been about 9 months, I think. Yeah, so it's been a while.
That would be good to get going. Any questions from anybody? Remote, Bradley, or Lumber? No? Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Could you give us a little insight of what you're allowed to tell us on community center? Like, it's passed, but how's it going in terms of the investigation, and what's the sort of timeline going?
So if you look at the town calendar, you'll see that the board is meeting often. I think we've had 3 meetings this week, so we're working really diligently to through these agreements that through the purchase and sales were identified. So the reciprocal easement agreement and the CAM and indemnification, all the things that were called out in the purchase and sale, as well as considering the due diligence reports. Moving forward, I don't think that we see any major changes in the timeline that we had proposed, and I don't think, I think we're still moving forward. In terms of the community engagement, we'll probably be looking at putting together an RFP for that piece of it in the coming weeks, so that we can begin that process.
So have you received the due diligence reports yet?
Mm-hmm.
What's our timeline to close?
So closing would be after the.
Or what's the timeline for our due diligence? I'm sorry.
So due diligence per the purchase and sale, the final day is today.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we're satisfied at least. I assume that means. Yes.
We're still working through some things,
okay.
But I think things are going in a positive direction.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. Just jumping back to Youth and Family Service, since you want to use ARPA funds, the process would be
same
finance
process.
Team, then here, then select board at the time that you know the.
Yeah, and while we're talking about ARPA funds, as a reminder, those funds need to be obligated by the end of calendar 24. We have this really great ARPA page on the new website if you haven't looked at it yet. It's if you go it's actually one of our spotlight items, and it shows everything that we've awarded and also the running balance. So as working with Jason, we'll figure out, which things are, how much is falling to the bottom line, and we'll be sending something out to see if there are any projects that are in the works that might need additional funding. And that will also have to come through the same process.
Okay. Topic I had a question for. Jason put you on the hot seat, but when do you think you might be able to start providing us with that monthly report that we used to get?
Oh, very, very soon.
Very soon. Okay. Maybe end of...
He hasn't even been here a month.
Oh, I know. I'm just asking to get an idea. Because we miss it, I think.
Yeah.
At least I did. Okay, are there any other topics people want to ask while we're here? All set?
I guess just we're working on the budget. Obviously, you all know that it's due the 21st of December. So we're working through that process. And I know the Capital Planning Committee, Andrew is your representative on it, but I think they are wrapping up their work. So.
Yeah, they met tonight, I know.
Yep.
That's why Andrew came in a little late. That's good.
Great.
Okay, on the subject of budget, if there's no further questions, we could probably jump first to the AFC budget request and then go back to the Golf Club Building Committee second. It's a little more topical. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen, which I'm not sure I'm going to do or not, but we'll see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Jason.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks.
Share. Okay. I probably have this thing here, which I don't need. I don't know if you're going to be able to read it anyway. But so, in case any of you ever end up being the chair of the AFC, the chair of the AFC actually meets with the town manager and finance director to put in our budget for the following fiscal, as all the department heads do. Of course, ours is very simple compared to most departments. So I wanted to tell you about what I have done for now, for us. Ultimately, the AFC votes its recommendation anyway on all budgets, so you guys can change this if you want. But so there are two categories, wages, clerical, and we'll get to expenses. So first, wages, clerical. As you know, up until about last May, we didn't have an admin that was paid. So we now have had the wonderful experience of having an admin, doing our minutes and posting it. And so the fiscal 20, I should move this down, the fiscal 23 budget was $4,167 for that, which of course only, she started I think in May or something, only a little bit got spent. This year's budget's $4060, and we're moving through that. I did analysis, and we've had 34 meetings both last two fiscal years, and I know with the increase, or the 2.5% increase in salary, and did an average of it's about 4 hours per meeting that it takes to do the minutes. That said, left a little bit of room because of the heaviness of the meetings that lead up to town meeting, which in my average only had the fall town meeting ones, which were mostly simple, but the more complicated ones took a little more than 4 hours. That time includes writing the minutes, amending the minutes, and then pulling together a package of all our material that we, I'll let Beth back in, I guess. That go into our packet, so to speak, and then sending that off to town clerk. So I did that math, and I am satisfied with the fact that we could use less money and still have a margin there, and reduced it to, my proposal is to reduce it to $3,900 from the $4060. And the reason I'm doing that is because we need some more money in printing and copying. We've had $1,500 for the R&R printing last year. We actually spent a little more than that. We spent whatever 250 minus 1994 is, I guess that's 1744. And I'm expecting that this year will probably be a little over that as well. So what I'm proposing doing is moving the printing and copying up to 1,800 for fiscal '25, and that gives a total increase of it's a 2.4%, but we're pretty small peanuts of a department anyway. But I think that's more realistic for the printing costs. We've spent $621 on the fall town book, and I'm expecting last year we spent about almost $1,000 on the annual town meeting, and that's usually because it's many more pages. It's got budgets, it's got more articles. Anyway, so that I just wanted to get everybody informed on that. Ultimately, then the town manager takes this. She gives us her recommended budget for all the departments, and then we'll be voting at this later. But that's how it was thought out. We may end up short again this year on the printing, and last year we did a transfer, and we may have to do that because we're still in fiscal '24, which is already budgeted. So, okay. Any easy questions?
I've got two questions.
Yeah.
So what is dues and memberships? Just curious.
Oh, so we have the main part of that is a membership in the Massachusetts Advisory Finance Committee organization. That's $250. They have educational materials. They not a huge amount from for benefiting me. If I was more into doing this on a more professional level, I think I could benefit from being more participatory.
Can we find out more information on what we get? Because I might be interested, right? It's at least got a little bit more overlap.
In fact, that's something Christy was going to get us, because they do have some. They have some good materials, and they do send notes out and things like that. So I can look into that.
I think they also had something for introductory for new members, or at least there used to be something available when you first joined.
There is a training of some sort, and I kind of lost track of it in the hecticness of fall town meeting. And then I think the other months, they use that for when we buy like name plaques and things like that. I think that's what the $8 is in this case. That's there that we spent so far this year.
So my other question is more for humor value, but if we have shorter meetings, will that reduce our...
Yes. We have fewer meetings or shorter meetings, yes. As long as we can accomplish our tasks in less time and more simply, yes. Okay. Or if we have fewer articles on town meeting, yes. But I think we're a pretty small budget. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that. Okay. So next up, we've got to find this golf club thing. We need a liaison to the golf club building committee.
Shouldn't we be waiting for Prashant, or can we appoint him in advance?
Well, that would be mean, but
I think there's some vacancies now that Melanie left.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. We're going to be discussing other vacancies, and then those could wait or not. A lot of times when somebody first joins the committee, they don't necessarily need a liaison spot that first week, and they can maybe ease their way in.
Does he get to speak? Because if not, we could just give him like half of them, and we could all go home.
That's true. He might sign up for him now. Okay, so this the golf club committee, building committee is going to be 7-member committee, and there's one advisory finance team member. I think my impression was that the municipal building didn't have that as a requirement, and so they wanted to have that this time. And I know, Rod, you've expressed interest in this. I think Gene mentioned he would do it, I think, if nobody else was hung up with doing it. Does anybody else have interest? Any discussion why you want to do it or any of that stuff?
Well, I've been following it pretty carefully since day one, and have spent some time touring the building and reading the 300-page report. So
Whoa.
I
That should qualify you.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Better qualify than me.
So yeah, I think it's something that needs some serious discussion, and be glad to participate in.
Be great. Okay, so can we, somebody like make a motion to appoint Rob?
Sure. McMahon, I make a motion to appoint Rod as a member of the golf course building committee.
Yep.
Not a liaison.
Well, you'd end up being
It's
both,
both.
but you're
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
a
yeah.
member of the
Yeah.
committee. Yes. So you would be a voting member of that committee. And, is there a second?
Second.
Bradley, second.
Okay. I heard clap first, but she didn't say clap. I don't know. We'll let our secretary decide.
See how it gets written up.
Yeah, we'll see how it gets written up.
Find out who seconded it next
Yeah,
week.
Okay. Any further discussion? Nope. All right, Beth, lead us off.
Blumberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brant, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, thank you.
Okay, so that is 800 with 8 present, and just Prashant's going to actually have to start all the votes in the future because his last name begins with an A, so he'll be
All
at
right.
the top of the list
Set the,
at
set
the next
tone.
meeting. But that means none of us have to shuffle our order. Right? So, okay. All right. As we said, there are other openings to now consider. I should probably share this screen. Well, I don't have to share the screen. There's only 3. Melanie was for the liaison
Fire,
to police, fire, ambulance, and health department / landfill. And Jean, I think you expressed interest on one of these, but I think it was fire ambulance?
Yeah, yeah, particularly interested in that. If it
Okay.
makes sense to also take police, I know a lot of times they went hand in hand. I'm certainly willing to do that, but
Okay. Anybody else interested at this point on those two? I think often those things are semi-tied.
I'm certainly-
really. Go ahead, Beth.
I'm certainly willing to help out with the waste management and Board of Health, depending on what you feel my conflict is, given that one of the members of the Board of Health is in my household.
So you have a lot of, yeah, but he doesn't profit from the Board of Health.
I have easy access.
Well, and it's a liaison position.
It's a
I think it
liaison
should
position
be-
anyway.
It's a liaison position. Yeah.
He doesn't actually work for the town. He's
Right.
a volunteer.
No, right. He's in a volunteer position as I am.
Okay.
I mean, I think both of those sort of make sense, right? Keeping fire and police together does sort of go hand in hand. There's some coordination
Yes.
between the departments, and Beth seems a very logical choice for the health department liaison.
Any other
Yeah.
comments, desires? Or guys down the side here being quiet.
Sounds
They're
logical to
keeping
me.
their hands down.
I'm
So I-
I'm happy to pitch in if we need it, but if Gene's excited about it, by all means.
Right.
I
feel-
think Gene's not, you're not doing that much liaison at this moment, right?
Hard-working man, I'm
there's
not.
really
Yeah.
no reason to kick
Gene's
a guy.
really just, he's really just coasting
I am
anyway.
offering.
Yeah, he is offering. He is offering.
That was going to
Well,
be
he
my
offered to
only
do
question
schools,
if
but,
it's
I
in
think
addition
Jane
to it.
ended up doing schools instead of Jean, so. Okay, so I will move that we appoint as liaisons Jean McMahon to police and fire ambulance, and Beth Blumberg to health department landfill.
Dolan, second.
Okay, any further discussion?
I don't remember these being votable motions, but certainly do that.
Well, we just come to agreement anyway. I think it's important that we usually kind of vote the slate at the start, I think, but anyway, it's easy enough to vote.
Mhm.
Beth?
Blumberg, yeah.
Bradley, yes?
Frank, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes?
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so that's 800, so that we'll make those changes, we'll fill out the form. And I have to just inform somebody, I gotta find the email, that you've been appointed, and then you will have to go down and swear in with the town clerk, was the process. So I'll keep you in that loop.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod, for volunteering, and thank you, Jean and Beth, for volunteering. Very good. And for Prashant, what we do is we have a list of pretty much all the departments, and we split up liaisons so that we can focus a little bit more paying attention to what's going on in that department and report back. But on most big things, we end up bringing the departments in anyway. But for instance, on police and fire, sometimes there's a question on something that then the liaison can just ask the chief or one of the chiefs and get an answer without dragging them in here, which is if it's simple enough. And so I would ask, well, I guess Beth doesn't have to contact anybody, but Jean, if you could contact the two chiefs, and
Will do.
Todd Minardi and Pat Purcell, and let them know you'll be filling in. You'll be the new guy. Okay. Okay, make sure covering everything. Good. Good. Are there any liaison reports that people want to throw in to the mix?
James, you want to talk about meeting with Amber?
Yeah, so we met with the school earlier this week. It is all a blur.
Tuesday.
Today's Thursday. It was
Tuesday.
this week. Thank you. And went over sort of their budget. They had their budget hearing last night that they presented, sort of what their expectations are, and then we'll meet with them again, I think, next week. Now that we've had a little bit of time to process what we went through, and I'll be a pain and ask a million questions. It looks like, did it end up being a little over 6% total increase to their budget request this year? And for the most part, that's all salaries. Like 83% of their budget is salaries. The majority of those are all union contracts anyway, so there's really not a lot of flexibility. They did have a decrease in sort of student services. They're level funding all of the schools, and then some increases in curriculum and technology. So not a lot of huge surprising changes. It is kind of a big number, but it's largely driven by those union contracts, where a lot of the teachers have sort of the steps built into their contracts as well as a COLA. And so a lot of those teachers that are in that step process are getting 6.5%.
Especially the newer, younger teachers.
Yeah. So it really drives up their budget increase. So like I said, we'll ask more questions if anyone has specific questions.
And
we're happy to pass those along.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Andrew,
and as far as the school's performance goes, we're doing quite well compared to the state and the nation in terms of COVID comeback. Because some of you may be aware that a lot of students across the country lost a significant amount of time during the pandemic academically. And Westboro's 10th graders are where they're supposed to be. The younger students still have some catch up to do, but are doing really well. So.
Okay, Andrew has his hand up.
We're paying for services we're receiving.
Okay, Andrew, you had a question or comment?
Not so much a question, just a liaison. I'll wait for my turn to liaise.
Oh, okay. Yep, thanks. All right, anybody have?
Sorry for the confusion.
So what's next for you guys? Are you meeting, are you going to meet with them before, outside of the thing, or are you?
Correct. So
okay.
we met with them, we met with Anita and Amber and their chair and vice chair was Steve and Kristen Tuesday before their hearing last night, and then we'll meet again next week, just us again, to talk through any questions and sort of review.
So again, if you have questions, if you have questions, send them to us so that we can ask them.
Yep.
Okay, I didn't see I'll try and watch the budget presentation at the school committee meeting, but I didn't see it this week.
So I assume since it's all public now,
they
sent us the slide deck. I'm happy to send out the slide deck that they provided if you wanted to just scroll through, because it does have some sort of the matrices, which would save you from watching the entirety of the meeting.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Excellent. And you have Wilfred's, I guess, input too as well at your next
And I
meeting.
will ask. I mean, it's a great question, and it gives us, I'm all for any way to sort of slice the data to really look in and review. So it's a great way to really request data that gives me another perspective. So.
Very good. Anybody have any other questions, schools? Okay, Andrew, liaison report.
Sure. You noted it before, the Capital Expense Planning Committee was just before this meeting. So I apologize for not being in person, but we had our second meeting. Well, it's actually our third meeting. We've gone through all the presented items. We don't have feedback from all the different raters, so we're waiting for that. Some of the top line numbers, just to be mindful of, we're looking at in previous years, we've spent about $1 million in free cash as part of the capital expense planning conversation. Last year, we spent about 1.3. This year, we have about 1.5 on the books that we're weighing, but there was just a new an item presented today by Chief Purcell, and it's security for a number of the offices around town, primarily the town hall, cameras, keys, and stuff like that, and he was able to get a grant to offset a material portion of that. Now, as I say that, it'll be folded into the rest of the consideration, and we haven't had the Sophie's Choice conversation yet about which we stand behind, which we don't. So that 1.5-ish million is a working number. Think about it, that is sort of a ceiling right now, and the conversation about how we might pull that back is going to be happening when we meet next. The other thing that's sort of different about the process this year is that Kimberly's done a great job of folding in, and Christy as well, of presenting a more comprehensive view of the capital plans of the town. So the large number that we see at the end is actually larger than we've ever seen before, but we're also weighing more projects than we've ever done before. So, for example, we're weighing in a lot of projects that we wouldn't normally have been part of the conversation. So the big ones this year, there's the Hastings money, which is the next stage is going to be about $5 million, and that's a number that's still waiting for details for. And a couple of other bigger projects around the school and for planning for the roof replacements that we know of, and we're waiting on final details and numbers for those as well. But the number's a very significantly larger number than we're used to seeing, but it's not larger because the committee is doing anything differently. It's larger because we're taking the stand to present and discuss and thoughtfully push back in a lot of different ways, a lot more things than we have done in the past. So credit to Christy and Kim for that, the work pulling that together. Next meeting is next Monday, where we will have those Sophie Choice moments, and we'll figure out what the messaging is and how we want to stand behind what it is we eventually settle on for the capital recommendations.
Excellent.
Any questions?
Andrew, are those meetings recorded?
The one tonight was recorded. The other two were live and in person, and those were not recorded.
Okay.
And next Monday, do you know?
The next Monday is a remote one, so it's going to be recorded.
So are they saved on the Westboro website somewhere, or YouTube, or where do they go?
I don't know. I mean, they'd
great
have
question.
to. you'd have to publish minutes. They aren't required to
Oh, okay.
put the videos up, but maybe they do. I don't know. Depends on the committee. So I don't know where they would be.
Yeah, and Kim would know the details. She's taking all the notes. I don't know if she's actually transcribing minutes or if that's being done by somebody else offline. But I know Kim's sort of the lobbying source around it. I'm chair this year, but I'm not taking any notes. I'm just sort of gaveling things and reading the notice before the meeting, that sort of thing.
I mean, they are public. You can attend them remotely if they're having it, but I don't know about. But you, is that something you could look into, Andrew, and see? Just find out if they are.
Absolutely.
If they're available, and then let us all know. Sounds good.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting to watch too.
Yeah. Not as much fun as the finance committee, but you know.
Oh yeah, not as must see TV as
It's
us.
really hard to compete.
But Andrew's there, so you got.
No, that's true. That's true.
Anybody else?
Okay, I will say I read the preliminary notes as a flight attendant today, because it's always been something that needed to be done in the pitch of the flight attendant. But you know what? Except for that, it's very staid work.
Very good. Any other liaison reports? I just can report that the Library Building Committee is meeting probably twice a month and going through the process of coming up with a recommended list of repairs. The committee, to a large extent, voted towards there were 4 levels to the bottom level. Right now, we're looking at additional couple items to that bottom level, and working through the details. The architects will come up with more information, and at town meeting we expect to have an article for the cost of design, and then a year later, if that passes, the cost of the construction. So the design work will be beyond what the design was last time, which is more like 10%, but kind of like a biddable document, so real bids can be made for the following year. And they're doing their best to try and come up with at least ballpark estimates, but this is all still kind of preliminary. I know I have just found out last night that I guess they're going to be presenting something at the Select Board meeting on December 5th, because the December 19th meeting is booked. It's a little premature, so I don't expect too much information, but we will be having them here certainly in January, and we have a better idea of the real numbers and what's going on. I think it's a little early right now to bother, at least for us, but you might want to watch that. I have some other dates of interest. Also at December 5th, across the street, from 7 to 8:30, so this is stuff you could watch on TV, obviously, at a later time or whatever, but the planning board will be holding a public information session regarding the proposed zoning amendment for Westboro. This is based on the 2020 state legislature enacted changes basically to create more housing around the region, and any town that has an MBTA station or is adjacent to an MBTA station must adopt certain zoning changes. And so I think they're starting that process because I think they have to do that by probably end of 2024 or something like that. So those changes might be coming up. But it would be a good way to at least learn what the requirements are and what the thoughts are. And if you are so inclined to have opinions on that, then you can provide that too. I believe it's at Forbes across the street. So that's on the 5th. On the 12th, the dog park is having a public information and input session, and that will be right here I guess it's 6 p.m. on the Tuesday the 12th. And so that also, pretty sure, will be broadcast. And that's another date of interest. December 19th will be the stormwater presentation at the select board meeting, and I think that's going to be a larger one. I met with Sean Keogh, myself, the finance people, and the DPW. We got a preview, a little bit of what they're sort of planning and moving forward for, and it's pretty much what they had told us before in terms of raising money and its uses and its costs. And so the next step is to bring it to the select board, I guess, for some kind of approval. And so that's also of interest. And then a date I want is very important to our committee is January 25th, and letting you know now because you have to take a day off from work because that's an all-day budget meeting where we will get presentations from the big departments, DPW, usually police, fire, schools, and maybe some other tidbits, which is the real major start of budget season. So that's an important date, and hope everybody can attend that in person if at all possible. That's an important one. So that's January 25th is the date for that.
When are the department budgets due to the town manager?
They're already due. That's
Okay.
why I met with, I was one of the last people, I think, to meet with her. So she already should have all that data. She has to provide the budget to us and to the select board. It's right around December 22nd
It's
or
December
something like that.
21st.
It's before Christmas break, but and that's when we all will get contacted to see how we want our whether you want your book in book form, electronic, or both. So be on the lookout for that, but that should be right around the end of the year. So as far as I know, they all had to have it in. I met about, I want to say a week or a week and a half ago with her, so and I think we were near the end. So she has to process it because in those the departments. It's, they have to have everybody's, all the people's salaries and the expenses and what they want. And then if there's anything that they want to do new or different, that is also there. But Christy will end up deciding which stuff to put in her recommended budget based on that, my understanding. So yeah, that stuff starts early. It's really interesting because we still have a lot of months left in fiscal 24, and you're thinking of fiscal 25. Same with the schools. They just started school in the fall, and they're already planning for next year. Okay, so that's it for that. In terms of our path to annual town meeting, I don't see a need for a lot of meetings between now and when the budget's done, unless something comes up or there's something specific. But we're going to hit the ground in January, so I will probably book Mondays and Thursdays in January, and then we'll throw out the ones we don't need. But I expect a lot of meetings January and particularly February, and the front half of March, of course. Be back to busy season again. So enjoy your reduced commitment while you can. Prashant, rest up. And so I will start that. But right now I would think that we would probably first meet in early January unless something else comes up that trumps a transfer or a need or some other thing that we have enough information that'd be worth talking about. Andrew, you still have your hand up. I didn't know. Are you all
Oh,
set?
no, we went down and it came back up.
Oh, okay. So, go ahead.
Just wanted to circle back. For those who haven't seen it, the town has a new website. It's very spiffy, like a lot of the interface changes. It's kind of hard to find committees, but the good news is I just checked. If you do a search for Capital Expenditure Planning Committee off the main page, it's just a click or two away from our agendas and meeting minutes and stuff. So I know that this evening we didn't have time because we ran later. We couldn't approve the meeting minutes, but those will be approved as the next meeting. But that's where you'll find notes and meetings and such, just for future reference going forward.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, the new website is a great improvement, and you can actually create an account, log in, and then you can have a specific view, I guess, if you want, so the things you're more interested in. But it's also where you can sign up to get email notifications, like when the AFC posts an agenda, you can get that sent to you, et cetera, or for any other group that you're interested in. I will tell you that at the moment, or at least as of earlier this week, our meeting minutes and agendas sort of on the new website cease at July, because that's where they had imported the data from. And so all our fall ones at the moment were not there. So I did ask, and they are importing those now that the website's up and live. So there is a little bit of gap, and it's probably true for other committees as well, because they took the data as of July, and that's what went live, and now they're adding back the stuff that was added since. Very good. Okay, we need to approve the minutes of special town meeting, October 16th. Someone make a motion?
McMahon, I make a motion to approve the minutes of special town meeting.
Shafford, second.
Is there any discussion? They're pretty short, simple minutes, so. Hearing none. Beth?
Lundberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brandt, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
Okay, so the minutes are approved 8-0 without amendment. Are there any further points needed, discussed? Everybody's all set? If not, then how about a motion to adjourn?
Shafford, motion to adjourn.
Clap, second.
And no discussion allowed?
Lundberg, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Brandt, yes.
Clap, yes.
Dolan, yes.
Leslie, yes.
McMahon, yes.
Shafford, yes.
8-0. Thank you, Westboro TV. We are adjourned.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.